Hey folks, this is Chris Crazy House, and I'm here to give some more of my Chris Crazy House commentary. If you enjoy my commentary about what's going on in the news as far as pop culture and fandom, and me giving my spin on it based on my expertise and my experience working in the arts and animation industry, go ahead and give this channel a like and make sure you subscribe to hear more of it later on. And if you are also a fan of my work, my personal work, go ahead and go to my Amazon channel, and I will have the link in the description box here, and you guys can go pick up some of my original coloring books. I have 3 volumes of naturally cute coloring books. These are coloring books featuring black women with their natural hair. And the latest coloring book, Naturally Cute Fantasy, features black women with natural hair in different fantasy settings. Everything from cyberpunk to high fantasy, sword and sorcery, space rangers, and superheroes. Go pick that up today at Amazon.com. Once again, the link will be posted in the description box. And so today I wanted to talk about a story I read in Variety, very sad story, about the co-creator of Scooby-Doo passing away, Mr. Ken Spears. And most people probably have no idea who that is. People probably just loved and watched Scooby-Doo and didn't know who created it, or just assumed because it was produced by Hanna-Barbera that those two must have created it. But Hanna-Barbera was the name of the studio. Yes, the 2 owners of the studio, but they had a lot of very talented writers and creators there creating their content for them. And one of those men was Ken Spears. Him and Joe Ruby co-created Scooby-Doo together. And back then, you had these guys working as writers and artists and animators and storyboard artists. And they would come up with a plethora of ideas. Like if you remember those 70s Hanna-Barbera cartoons, they kind of had an assembly line of different kinds of cartoons that were almost kind of similar. And that's due to having just in-house creators, but also, once an idea hits and is popular, you kind of start spinning off and creating more shows like it. And, Ken Spears was one of those creative minds there. He created Scooby-Doo, I think Jabberjaw, and Blue Falcon and Dino Mutt. So those were 3 of the big ones he created while working at Hanna-Barbera. And to me, that's if he had done nothing else past that, his contribution to art and animation is huge. If he had just created Scooby-Doo or co-created Scooby-Doo, his contribution is huge, because Scooby-Doo is a property that has transcended time. I'm sure when they created it, they did not expect it to be as popular as it still is today, to the fact where it spawned several different animated series, it spawned several spin-offs, it spawned several live-action movies, it spawned several 3D movies and made-for-TV movies and straight-to-DVD movies, toys. People dress up like the characters every year for Halloween. It's just one of those things that spawns so much, and even has entered pop culture in the fact that people have parodied it, and you automatically get where the parody comes from just based on how popular those characters have become. And like I said, I'm sure they did not expect it to reach that far out, but I'm glad that they put that time in to create it. So it says that here that Ken Spears died from Lewy body dementia, or he had been suffering from it for several years, and that's what finally caused him to pass away at 82 years old. And like I said, sad story, but I guess he can live good knowing that he had a legacy. You know, the fact that you can create something that's so great and so remembered, that is a great thing to be able to take with you to the grave. And like I said, it wasn't just stuff like that. Like him and his buddy Joe Ruby, they formed their own company later on where they produced like the Superman cartoon, Alvin and the Chipmunks. And if anyone remembers that Mr. T cartoon that came on in the 80s, the one where Mr. T was with the gymnastics team, a silly concept, but I know I watched the hell out of it when I was a kid back in the 80s, so I can't knock it. It's like a lot of these ideas sound ridiculous when you read them on paper, but I know a lot of us that are my age in their late 30s, early 40s, have amazing memories of these shows and these cartoons. I mean, I watched Scooby-Doo religiously. Even when I watched it, it was in reruns, and it was kind of fading out at the time, but then it had a resurgence like in the late 90s. So I was very much into it when I saw it. One of the things I liked about Scooby-Doo is, even though it was a cartoon, it still had a very scary atmosphere, and I think that's one of the things that really attracted a lot of kids to it, because kids, you know, people always think kids just like stuff that's all happy and hunky-dory all the time, but kids do enjoy being scared. They still like the idea of monsters and scary stuff as well. And I almost wonder, would this show be able to be produced nowadays, like just as a fresh start? Yeah, they have new iterations of Scooby-Doo now, but that's only because of the popularity of it from before. I wonder if it was a new show, would it catch on based on just how, like I said, sometimes those shows, they actually have some very scary and disturbing monsters. And if you look at the artistry put into like the background artwork, it always has that very haunting feeling. I think the artists, especially the background artists, did an amazing job, and the animators did an amazing job, considering that it was limited animation. You know, Hanna-Barbera sort of pioneered that style of limited animation for TV with the Flintstones, and they continued on to Scooby-Doo, where they reused a lot of different animation sequences for their shows. Like if you remember Scooby-Doo, every time they would run from the ghost, it was the same run and walk cycles. Each character had their own very distinct walking style and running style that you know, it kind of repeated on the show. And even, you know, certain animations where like Scooby would jump into Shaggy's arms or whatever when he was scared, or how they would eat food, is like they reused so much animation, but it worked. You know, that was, you know, working on something with a limited budget and limited time. You know, it pulled it off very well. And something I always thought about, like, just, you know, a lot of these guys from that old guard of animation, like Ken Spears and brothers like Floyd Norman, I always wonder like what it would have been like to live back then and work in the animation industry then, because back then it was more of just like a job, and that's how those guys treated it, like a 9-to-5 job that you did. You could support your family. And a lot of these guys, they're from California, like they're born and raised there. So back when California wasn't the mecca of entertainment, it just was where that stuff happened to be produced. It was run more like an industry, the same way as, you know, men working in the auto industry in the Midwest, or guys working on the docks on the East Coast. It was just something you did. You know what I mean? If you had the talent for it, and you had the skill for it, you did the job, and you worked there until you retired, right? So I always kind of wonder what it would have been like to work during those times. So if you have any great memories of the work of Ken Spears, let me know in the comments section. And once again, if you like this video, go ahead and like it, share it, and make sure you subscribe to this channel. Anyway, Chris Crazy House signing out. Peace.